I love you. Thank you. Oh, my God. What happened? You guys made me cry. Oh, I wasn't expecting that.
This is...
I love you. Thank you. I love you, too. See? That's what I'm talking about. That's what the world needs, more love. Thank you so much.
Well, this is before you've seen The Color Purple. I mean... Incredible.
Thank you.
I had the chance to see the film early. I know it comes out on Christmas Day. Yeah. It's fantastic. I'm curious what your first experience with The Color Purple was. Was it the book? Was it the earlier film?
It was the first film. I was 15, and I was just trying to figure out what I wanted to do with my future, and I started falling in love with acting. And, you know, a little girl coming from Southeast D.C., I lived in the hood, you know, You know, I lived in the hood, and, you know, sometimes when you come from places like that, your dreams are stifled. But I just remember seeing all of those black faces, and I was like, I want to do that. I want to do that. And that's why representation is so important.
Yeah. And I want to ask you about that. The film is incredible. It's about community. It's about women, especially black women. What was the vibe like on set with a group like this?
Oh, it was so much fun. I mean, like the support that we gave each other, you know, this is my first time really singing like this. And, you know, it's not something that I'm very confident in. I'm more confident in my acting than I am my singing. Singing is something I can do. I studied musical theater in college. But, you know, when I became pregnant, I kind of turned my back on the music industry because it seemed a little dark to me. I was like, hey, they don't have a union. Who's protecting the artists? So I packed my baby up and I moved west because I felt more secure with acting. And I think I made the right choice. Yeah, but, you know, we supported each other.
Yeah.
Like, this was Fantasia Barrino and Danielle Brooks' first studio film. So where they felt like they were inadequate, I held their hands as far as being their first feature film. And for me, the singing. And so they held my hand, and it was just beautiful. Like, the sisterhood and the camaraderie that we had on the set is why you feel it so much coming through the screen, because we really had a good time.
And you were a huge Fantasia fan.
Absolutely.
From American Idol, right?
Yeah, I still have calluses on my thumb from voting for her.
Had you all met each other before this movie together?
I never met her before, but I lost my grandfather about 20 years ago, and he was a huge Fantasia fan. But I still have my grandma. She's turning 100 in April.
Oh, wow. Well, Grandma, she's in good hands this evening, sending her love. Yeah.
Yes.
So this is a musical adaptation of The Color Purple, and I'm curious how, for you, how the music adds to the storytelling.
Oh, my goodness. I mean, I think Scott Sanders is who we need to give the credit to for that. He's the producer who was the first person to bring music even to the musical. And so he's one of the producers on this, and he's the pioneer of the musical that we have, Color Purple. But I thought it was brilliant, and I had to give him his credit. I was like, you know, because as black people, that's what we are. Yeah. Like, I have, like, my little nephew. I remember one day the washing machine was on, and it was making this kind of, like, percussion beat, and he started dancing. And that's just how we are. We will dance to, you know, we banjo, we, like, make sounds on our chest, and we dance. And I just thought, wow, what an interesting concept to bring music to this beautiful piece of literature. And it just makes sense, because we are musical, you know? Yeah. And what I love about this musical and why we use music and how it's used in the film is most times you sing a song when you don't have the words. When you can't find the words, you sing a song, and that's why it makes so much sense, because these characters are going through so much trauma, you know, and that's who we are as a people. We don't wallow in the muck. We don't let our trauma consume us. We dance, we sing, we go to church, we laugh, you know. I
wanted to ask you about that. I know the music was part of it, but then Blitz, your director, also I wanted to ask you about I feel like a lot of times when you see communities of color in film, especially if something is a period piece, and especially if it's through the lens of someone who is not from that community, you often end up just really focusing on the victimhood, on the trauma. Yeah. And this was such a celebratory, beautiful film, especially when you're on screen singing. You bring so much joy with every frame. Talk me through what it was like making those choices, and then what the director's vision was, because that was very affecting.
Oh, Absolutely. And for me, I remember when I got the call, my manager calls, it's during the pandemic. We have nothing going on. We're sitting around talking heads on Zoom. And he calls and he's like, you know you're being tapped for Suge. I said, Suge what? And he was like, Suge Avery for The Color Purple. I said, oh God, why are we? That's a classic, leave it alone. But then I met with Blitz, and for one, I knew I had to do it because I've been a part of some incredible cinema that was about Black people, but was not told by Black people. So I knew for that alone, I needed to be a part of it because I knew it would look different. And when he started explaining his radical reimagining of it, I was like, oh my God, I have to be a part of this. This is literally who we are. You know, the trauma is there, absolutely, but we fight. We have imagination. And when he said someone, you know, people who have been through trauma have often been labeled as docile and, you know, looking for help. But that couldn't be farthest from the truth, because what happens is they use imagination and they imagine themselves in better situations and better circumstances. When he explained that to me, I was like, I'm in. I'm in. I want to do this because I just knew it would look different, you know?
I want to ask you about the foundation, the Boris Lawrence Henson Foundation. Just tell me about it. I read a little bit and I thought it was fantastic.
So I'm very proud of the work I'm doing for Black and brown and underserved communities in mental wellness because, you know, we're just learning to talk about it, guys. You know, we have been suffering, and since slavery, we've been passing down dysfunctional ways of functioning. And it's time for us to heal. It's time for us to break generational curses. And so when I was looking, it was all out of my own necessity because I'm raising a young man by myself. And thank you. I wouldn't wish that on my worst enemy. But, you know, becoming a young man, and I'm not a man, you know, his father was murdered when he was 9, and then my dad died 2 years after that. So what am I, you know, and so now the rose-colored glasses are coming off, and he's understanding that he's a Black man in America, which is different from being a kid because he's not cute anymore. It became difficult. And when it was time for me to look for help, I just didn't see anybody that looked like me. And I was like, what is wrong? So I called my best friend, Tracy Cherie Jade, who runs my foundation, since my best friend since the 7th grade. And she used to suffer, well, she has had her issues with panic attacks, and since we were kids, and we used to laugh about it when we were children because we were ignorant. We did not know. And the same thing that we used to laugh about, we cry about it today because now we have the information. And so when you know, I'm privileged. I can afford $350 a pop, whatever it costs for therapy. But then I just thought about an entire community that, one, doesn't even talk about it, and two, don't have the resources or the money. And I just couldn't sit idle. I had to do something. And so that's when I birthed the Boris Lawrence.
Breaking down that stigma is so critical. Thank you for doing that. Last question I want to ask you is a little bit of a fellow actor nerd question.
Yes.
What was it like working with Oprah and Steven Spielberg on this?
Oh, my God. I didn't see much of Steven Spielberg, but I find this funny. My entire career on sets, never knew Steven, never met him. I would always go, hold my phone, and if Steven Spielberg calls, tell him I'll call him after this tape. And finally, he called. But I will never forget the first scene that we shot was the very last scene of the film, and that's everybody around that big oak tree. And I remember that day, Oprah was there, and everybody's like, oh, God, Oprah's here. You better be on your best behavior. And so after they yelled, it's a picture wrap for the day, we did the electric slide with Oprah Winfrey.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome.
Not so many people can say that.
Yeah. Is there footage of this?
I'm sure someone has it out there.
Well, thank you. Look, The Color Purple is in theaters on Christmas Day. Taraji P. Henson, everybody.